Good evening. The time is now 5:34 p.m. and the HRCS Advisory Board meeting will be called to order. This meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Meetings Act and our bylaws. A summary of the posted agenda is available at City Hall. Now, the purpose of this meeting is a joint meeting with the Mayor's Neighborhood Advisory Board for the sole purpose of creating a process, a format for deciding on a recommended site for the NOVA Housing Initiative, or the MOD pods. State rules for public comment. Given the number of people present who have indicated a desire to speak, we're going to limit the speak to 1 minute. Please complete the public comment form if you have not done so. If they're not here, they'll be here. At this time, we're ready for roll call. At this time, as we do roll call, we'll just, every board member, as we go around, I'll start myself, we'll go around this table, and you will announce who you are. Yeah, and the board that you're on. Ron Embry, HRCS Advisory Board.
Christopher Green Spaczynski, Mayor's Neighborhood Advisory Board.
Glenn Lopez, HRCS, Human Relations.
Kirsten Walters, Neighborhood Advisory Board.
Mary Beth Van Horn, Neighborhood Advisory Board.
Matthias Bell, Neighborhood Advisory Board.
Brian Bear, Neighborhood Advisory Board.
Courtney Cole, Neighborhood Advisory Board.
Melissa Horst, HRCS Advisory Board.
Paul Dripchek, HRCS Advisory Board.
Versailles Williams, the HRCS Advisory Board.
Dr. Thomas Woods, HRCS Advisory Board.
All right. At this time, we have a quorum present for our board. So moving on, I will entertain a motion from this board for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
It's been moved and second. All those in favor? Aye. Those that oppose? Ayes have it. So,
I need to know who moved and who seconded, please.
Dr. Woods moved and Dr. Versailles Williams second.
Thank you. And henceforth, if you can state your name, I greatly appreciate it.
Okay. All right. So since we've had the approval of the meetings of the agenda, at this time we will I'll ask for a motion for approval of the minutes from the meeting of October 28th. If y'all had to.
Dr. Woods, Dr. Thomas Woods, moved.
Melissa Horst, second.
All right. It's been moved and second. Are there any necessary corrections? Being none, these minutes are approved. Pardon? Yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those that oppose? Ayes have it. It is so carried. The minutes are approved as amended. At this time, the floor is open for any public comment. Has anyone signed up for public comment?
Yes.
Okay. Just as a reminder, that's limited to 1 minute. Pardon me. Okay, all right. So, I guess that's just get a place to say. You can speak right there. All right. First, we're going to call. Now, forgive me if I get your name a little wrong. Carl Tilking? Tilking. Mr. Carl Tilking. All right.
Hey.
You can come up to this podium.
Oh, I got a voice. I can carry. I guarantee it.
That's good.
My comment is going to be about the Mod Pods. I'm in favor of the idea of being able to bring these here to our city. I've had the opportunity, like I've said many times in the past at other meetings, is that I've gone around and I've seen tiny house communities and Mod Pod communities. I think, though, that there's one thing that finally has come to my attention that might be of concern to this body when they're making and creating this, is the fact that there's going to be some issues, like have been in other communities, where the overflow people being pushed out of the way are going to cause troubles at the front gates. Now, we may need to have a little bit heavier presence of police for that. I just want to know what was the board's idea about what they're going to do about that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment. At this time, we will have Mr. Brad Clark come.
Thank you. Again, a comment on the Mod Pods. I own a home less than 1 mile from the existing encampment and less than 1 mile from Comstock Park. I was astonished to read in a recent news report that Comstock is being considered as a location for the Mod Pods. Let's be realistic. How many of you have actually been there? It's essentially a giant bowl, and every time there's a strong rainstorm, it gets extremely wet. And while I'm not from Lansing, I'm told that historically it had been used in the winter as an ice skating rink. So someone needs to be very careful about considering the possible locations for a Mod Pod village, I believe that's the term. So I agree they need to go somewhere, but obviously there needs to be more thought put into site location. Thank you.
Thanks for your comment. At this time, Loretta Stanway.
And I think my voice carries as well, so I will simply say that I am strongly against putting these in any of the city parks. I don't think that's an appropriate use of a park. I think it counters what parks are supposed to represent. For example, if Joe Blow makes $12 an hour and wants to take his kids to the park for a couple of days and pitch a tent because he can't afford to take them out of town on vacation, he cannot do that. But you want to put 50 people camping permanently in that park that he is not able to use as a resident and a taxpayer. Also, our parks are not meant to generate revenue for anything other than the city itself. And whether or not you consider this group that would manage this as a nonprofit or not, somebody's going to be getting paid. So somebody's making money off of this venture one way or another, whether it's surplus or not surplus, it's income. So I strongly urge you to not consider any city park, especially if the bathroom facilities would then be better than the residents would get in their other parks.
Thank you very much for all of these comments. All of these comments were thoughtful and certainly worth consideration. Thank you for your input. Moving on, the next item on my agenda is communications. There is none. There is none. So we'll go on with that. Also, there is no director's report. Okay, so at this time, with the new business, we will move to have Mr. Yarden Bloomstein to conduct this meeting. All right, thank you.
Thank you. I'm Yarden. This is Ethan. We're going to be facilitating tonight. I want to explain purpose, some ground rules, purpose, and outline of goals, because that's what we're here to accomplish. And the faster we accomplish it, the better. First of all, there's an expectation here that together, in a respectful manner, we're going to accomplish the purpose of this meeting. It's also noted that while potentially there may be differing opinions, it's really that the goal, the outcome, is the unified opinion. So whether we agree with the outcome, we agree with the process, and that's why we came together. Another way of saying that is, while not everyone may be happy with the outcome, everyone can appreciate the process, and that's what we're trying to invest in through these series of meetings. The goal of this meeting, the purpose of this meeting, which I have on this paper as well, is to create a binding format for how this group will reach a leadership decision on which site should be selected or chosen or highlighted as a recommendation for the pods to go. So the goal is that over the course of a couple of meetings, there'll be a process created that everyone can agree to, and that everyone will commit to the outcome of that process being a location. With that, there's a couple of questions we identify, which is how we should, or how this group should choose the voting process. After that, the group is going to look at the rubric or the scoring process that was used to create the shortlist. From there, the group will engage in a discussion regarding what they think needs to go into the final discussion, the final vote. And from there, once we reach tonight the conclusion, which would be that we know, this group knows how they're going to choose the final location, this meeting will be, at least my purpose in this meeting will be accomplished. The next meeting, we will pick up with the tool that was created and the sites that were identified on the shortlist. So today we will not go into the sites. Tonight, the shortlist sites, today we're just simply going to create the process. The next meeting, we'll engage in the sites. Before I go further on that, there's a couple of questions I have, and then we'll start working through that. The first question I have is, did I miss anything in that you think is important that we should cover? And I can also explain any of that again. The second question I have is, what else needs to be in this process towards reaching a final decision? So those are the two questions I have before we advance into it. Is silence us all in agreement? We can be done by 5:45, you know? I'm kidding. If someone thinks of something along the way, the goal is tonight is to walk away with a finalysis to something we all agree upon. So I do have a question then to step into this process. There's several people around the table that have a vote. I do not. There will be a few places on the final list. Do people have an opinion about how the voting should happen at the end of this? Is it that there should be an elimination process where you start with 5, then go to 4, then go to 3, then go to 2? Should be a ranking process? Should it be just an open vote and whichever one? Do people have opinions about how that should work? Just as an initial way of jumping into that, if you do, I would very much appreciate hearing it. I'm going to throw it to you. Ready? I'm kidding.
I've played softball since I was 10, so I say bring it yard. No, I'll grab it. I don't want to
Do we
bring it.
need the mic? Is there a reason for it? Yeah.
All right. So one thing that I was thinking about was the vote. And one of the things that I was going to suggest for folks' consideration, at least maybe for the final vote, is thinking about doing like a consensus vote. And consensus votes can be numerical, so like 1, 2, and 3. So a 1 could be absolutely not. A 2 is like, okay. And then a 3 is yes. And so like the goal of like a consensus vote is 2s and 3s. So then it just shows consensus amongst us as a body when making this decision. So that way there's like, no like sour grapes at the end of this where, maybe there's the absolute nots. And I think that's part of the reason why we wanted to do a joint meeting was to sort of like understand since, and granted we on the HRCS advisory board, we're representing different wards in different parts of the city, but I think for you all especially, you have some insights into like the neighborhood groups that we might not. But yeah, so I was just going to throw that out as an idea, and I do think this is kind of a brainstorming thing, so I like to throw things to the wall, see what sticks, feel free to knock it down, but just wanted to present that as a possibility for like that final vote. So.
Thank you. I think we should space out the comments as far apart as possible. I just gotta get my steps in.
Gotta get your steps in today.
Yeah, I definitely like the idea of kind of consensus to build towards a short list, kind of semi-elimination as was discussed. If everyone says 3 for 1, then we can kind of easily eliminate that. And then if we have 2 or 3 that are mostly 1s and 2s, or if 1 is all 1s, we can kind of go in with the ideas of let's discuss the top 3 of these 5 instead of, jumping back between 5 and 2, and then we can kind of get the process a little quicker as in terms of eliminating locations that are going to, not work or are viewed as either the HRCS board or the neighborhood advisory board as ones that we don't think would fit the location or the needs of the community there. So I like the idea of kind of consensus to get us to a partial elimination, and then once we get there, I think the discussion can be a little more free flowing and trying to get pros and cons, and then we can get to official votes once we get to that point.
Anyone else? We got a mic right behind you. We figured out there's two.
I've been involved in consensus decision making before, and given the number of beats that I've been to, we have a wide range of opinions. And I'm wondering just how long it's going to take to reach consensus on any of these topics that we're going to be bringing to the table. I strongly believe in the democratic process. It's how we elect our mayors, our city council people, the whole 9 yards. I, for one, think that we can just stick with that. We all have to live with whatever the result is, that type of thing. So I don't see it being any different now than any other situation. So I'm for just we can vote and the democratic process will prevail. Whoever we get the most votes, that's what wins, in my opinion. So that's where I'm at.
Point, counterpoint, that should be your name.
I'm sort of in between. I like the idea of ranking these first, because I think it's really, I may have a very strong opinion, this one's great, this one's terrible, and other people, and I of course will immediately believe everyone else has the same opinion that I do. And so having a ranking system where we can all, before we do a final vote, we can get a sense of what the room is and where these things are. So some sort of ranking system, whether it's consensus or some sort of ranking before a vote, to me makes some sort of sense.
I agree too with the ranking system. Just based on my knowledge and what we learned from Director Coleman, it seems like we may select certain sites that are not a viable option. So if we're able to rank and then go from there after we learn more about legal and zoning, I think that makes sense to do.
Thank you. I also want to highlight, you will receive all the information before. You'll come in very knowledgeable, hopefully, but it's possible you also learn more through this process, whatever process you all choose. Are there any other comments? I'm hearing two themes being portrayed. One is kind of like some sort of round one and then final vote, and the other one is let's just have a final vote. This will be at the end of whenever we get to the final process.
How do we decide what we're going to do? Are we going to vote on it in the democratic process? Most votes, or we have to reach consensus?
Don't ask me, because I don't have a vote.
I think for part of like bylaws for this purpose, right? Like we would present the motion, so sort of discuss, put like the motion forward, and then we vote on it. So you would get your democratic, just up or down vote done.
As long as I get what I want.
I know. I forgot you were doing this, by the way. I'm sorry.
Just from taking the notes from what I've heard so far, I think, like Yarden said, there is two options of voting straight or having kind of a two-tier system. But also with that, we've had three different types of voting thrown out of a consensus, a democratic process of everybody voting, or some kind of ranked system as well. So I guess with those three in mind, the question is there some kind of step before reaching one of those three options to reach the vote? Or I guess do we go directly into these three options first would be the question. So leaving that back open.
I would believe that in order, if we're going to come up with a ranking system, there needs to be some type of criteria as to say, well, this is a better location, or this or that, or these services are here. I mean, what are we going to use to rank them with? I like the idea of having a ranking system and then just voting. But I'm saying you have to say, okay, this area is better because of this, this is nearby, or this is on a bus line, or there's this or that. But we have to determine what criteria we use to come up with that ranking system.
Just to jump in for a second, make sure we all understand, I want to open it up. To address that, and maybe it'd be better for you, maybe you'd feel more empowered if we did this vote later about how we chose. We're going to work through in your packet. If you look a little back, you'll see the rubric of information, and we're going to do a presentation on it. So you're going to learn about what went into it till now. By the end of today, you're also going to create what's important to you as you learn about the sites. So in the next meeting, when you hit the sites, you'll also have kind of reached a conclusion about what's important to you. So just timeline-wise, by the time you vote, you'll have also had hopefully 2 spaces of dialogue happening where you can process, throw ideas back and forth. Now in that voting, why would you want to divide it is if you vote for something that no one else voted for, then you feel like you may have lost your vote. Like if I knew it was between those 2, I would have voted for this one. I thought we were talking about these 4. So if you do a 2-round, you kind of can see what falls off and then kind of narrow your vote. You do a 1-round, it has both ways work. It's just different ways. So just to explain, to make sure we understand the timeline as we jump into it, we could either decide now in the process or we could see the presentation. You guys can decide however you'd like to do it. But I saw there's hands all over, so I don't know who wants to go first.
Sorry, jumping in. Because Chair Embry, I think the distinction for the ranking, because there's going to be that rubric, but for like ranking voting, it would be like, this is my 5th choice, 4th choice, 3rd choice, and we can assign points to that. And so then using that as a voting tool, we can see like which site would have the most points based on like use it to like that rank choice kind of voting.
Yeah, that's actually what I was just about to ask. I think, is it Brian and Courtney? It's hard to see over there. Is that what you guys meant, is ranked choice voting?
I think that's great, based on the criteria that we...
I see more formal than I was thinking, but yeah, it is.
Okay, all right, I just want to clarify that.
Did you want to ask a clarifying question? Maybe I took my homework too seriously.
I can hear you, but I don't think the mic's on.
Oh, well, I don't need the mic.
I need a mic to hear you on the camera. This one is on.
Okay. So maybe I'm being too simplistic, but the scoring rubric sheet, we would score this sheet for every site. Is that what I'm understanding? No. So I am a little confused at what we're trying to do here. I'll listen much better.
Yeah, you can answer.
So the rubric sheet that you guys have in your packet is the form that the HRCS staff, along with other departments, utilize to do our ranking.
Got it. Okay. So this is just for information only and has nothing to do with us.
Correct. So you'll get a copy of the filled out form for each of the locations that met in the top. And then you can utilize that to base your decisions on, along with your info on it as well.
Send it there just to show you how we got to that. Okay.
So I'm feeling a bit caught off guard. I am really happy to have this in front of me, but I didn't have a chance to look at it because it was handed to me when I came in and sat down. And so now I'm realizing what we have here, which is very useful. And I'm also hearing you say that we will have 2 opportunities to vote, and so that can help us decide what kind of voting system we have, because if we know we have 2 rounds, now I feel better about saying, oh, maybe we do have some sort of elimination through the first and second meeting, through ranking or through building consensus and seeing which things people object to. This is all very helpful to me. I would not mind if you gave your presentation first so I can collect more of this information and feel like I had a better sense of how I want to vote, because I also like the democratic process. It's very efficient, but I also have used consensus in very large organizations, and that has made more people feel like they've had a chance to, like their voice is valued. And so, I mean, we're going to have to balance that, but I would really be interested in hearing what you already have chosen for us in terms of the process before we choose how we vote, because I think that my feeling on which voting method is probably going to depend on things like that.
unless there's someone who wants to.
With that, we're going to turn to a presentation.
And I apologize, I'm hiding over in the corner. So this is the form that you guys have in front of you. So the purpose of the tool that we did was to create a consistent, transparent, and data-informed process for determining which of the sites were most suitable, rather than relying on our impressions, our individual preferences, and to give us a structured way to evaluate the feasibility, the safety, the accessibility, and the long-term sustainability. So the assessment is divided into two major parts. First, a checklist that captures observations about the site, and then a second for the scoring rubric for the site readiness. And then together, this kind of gave us the narrative and the numerical picture of each location. So the location and access, this first section looks at the location, access, and this also includes the proximity to public transit, essential services like healthcare and food, and employment opportunities. It also considers the neighborhood compatibility, overall safety, visibility, and whether it has like a walkability to the property. These factors directly affected how easily residents can access daily needs and support services. So the physical site infrastructure, let me move this down. The next section, it focused on the physical site and the infrastructure, and this is one of the most important areas because it determined whether the site can physically support the community. We looked at the utilities, sanitation, ADA compliance, environmental factors, safety, and whether the overall layout can accommodate pods, staff spaces, and common areas. So essentially, it would tell us how much work and cost would be required to make the site functional. Regulatory and legal, we try to review the zoning and licensing or what would be needed to make this happen. And then this would help us identify any like hurdles that we would have to face kind of early on. And then the next section was the servicing and staffing. So we wanted to make sure that the site overall would be able to support the services to be delivered, which would include space for case management, counseling, and partner organizations, along with the adequate parking and staff logistics. And then, let me get this to move down. And then next we looked at the community integration. So this is another component for the social and community integration. We looked at the neighborhood readiness and opportunities for connections with local partners like nonprofits, churches, community centers that could help support the residents. And then lastly, we examined the acquisition or lease terms or any potential partnerships or supports that we would be able to get to reduce cost. So it would help us understand the financial feasibility of each site. So if there are any notes or any concerns, we added that underneath the additional notes section. And then the second part of this is the actual scoring section of it, where it was ranked from 0, which was not feasible, up to a 5, which was excellent. So location and access had 25 points, physical infrastructure, zoning and licensing, service access and parking, community integration, and financial land zone. The financial, or the service access and parking, I'm sorry, not that one, this one down here. So financial and land use, you'll see that there's a correction on here. It's actually a total of 10 points on your forms. It says 15, but we did update that. So there is a total of 115 points that were available. We have it where in order for us to be considered a pass, it would need to score a 77 or higher. If it was between a 60 and a 76, we ranged it in a conditional range, which meant that it had potential, but it would need some sort of investment or mitigation. And then if it fell below 59, it was considered a fail. So this allowed us to compare locations objectively and clearly articulate why a particular site kind of rose to the top or why it didn't. We also have on that underneath the estimated cost for site prep and development. This was provided to us by the City of Lansing's project manager, engineer, guru, all-knowing man, Roy. So that was something that we were able to get an expert opinion on the actual cost estimate. You'll also see that there is an Excel doc that has listed City of Lansing proposed Mod Pod site locations. This has a lot of the same information that is on the rubric in front of you. It does have a little bit additional information, such as the acreage. Some of the locations that were suggested by community members may not have been large enough to accommodate the pods. So that would have been notated on the additional notes on your rubric, but you'd also be able to see what the actual lot size was on the form itself. And then this form also lists the owner of the property as well. But most of the information that is on this is available on the rubric as well. It was just more of like a sight line, so we'd be able to look at one document, have all the information on it.
We just kind of whiz through this one a little bit. If you want us to go back and take a look at it more carefully, just to get a better feel for it, please know that you can take a look at it now and have questions. Please go ahead and ask them.
Question if you're ready. Yeah, so I just had a few questions. I know included in the checklist there's neighborhood fit along with community readiness, including receptivity. On those, do you have any? What was the criteria there for how that would be in the checklist? Were there any conversations with community leaders, with neighbors, anyone in the department who may know a little more about this site specifics that may give a little more info on that? Because I know they're on the checklist here. Those are things that I'd love to hear the how as to why those were checked or not.
A lot of our opinions when that came from those meetings that we had with people who were really local about business owners having it in their neighborhood and for whatever reason. I'm sorry. Yeah, so most of our opinion about that had a lot to do with the communications that we had with people during those neighborhood meetings. People have been very vocal in many instances, and we made sure that their concerns were noted. So you'll see that noted on the form that will be completed when you get them on Thursday.
And then just another one. I know in the rubric sheet there's environment under physical infrastructure readiness. Was there any site testing for these, or is this just kind of information that you already have available, or any public info?
Well, you want to speak to that a little bit?
No site testing, no borings, nothing like that, no pre-engineering. It's what we do on the sites, whether they had infrastructure ready to connect to, or if it was a greenfield site where all that would have to be added.
And then the last, I know that the pass total here for the rubric is, pass conditional fail. Is the pass total with an appropriate checklist that also meets the criteria of the department, or is that just the rubric side for those?
All of this correlate. So the first sheet, the check sheet, and the sheet that you're looking at, well, ones that I thought you were looking at, maybe you weren't, but in this sheet, they all correspond with each other.
Okay.
That's the question?
Yeah. And then with primary risks and mitigations, is that just kind of what's known from the site, what's known from the community, okay.
That is correct.
And then kind of how the mitigation process would be for those sites?
For the most part.
Okay.
So I have a question about location and access to minimize barriers. So I see proximity to public transit, proximity to essential services, employment centers, things like that. How is that determined?
A lot of effort went into looking at best practices for determining successful programs like transitional housing. So they indicated, a variety of sites indicated what would be the best practice for that, how close you actually want to be. You don't want to be too far. You don't want the folks to be too far, then you've already created another barrier. If we were to go to, and I think I mentioned to you all, we met, that we had driven out to Sunfield. I wanted to call it the other name, but anyway, we had driven out there. Well, that was by far too far. It eliminated all the resources, and it created huge barriers for the individuals that we were hoping to take part. You want to not have barriers, so where we can eliminate them, we intend to.
That makes sense. So So I'm hearing that you physically put yourself in those locations to determine that.
Every location that we have on the list we've been there.
Was there any systematizing of that? Did you use, I'm just thinking like GIS or maps or some sort of overlay to look at like distance, or did you just go to a location you said, this
And we
feels
looked for
close?
what we needed.
What's that?
And then we looked for what we needed. We went to each location and we knew that there was a bus stop on the corner.
Okay.
We knew that there was a grocery store within that vicinity. We knew that there was medical services somewhere near. So yes, we didn't try and I don't think, well, I didn't, did you? Did you guys map it all out?
We didn't do like an actual like map to pinpoint them, but if it was an area, I'm horrible with directions, I'll just be honest with it. So some of them I did look up and was able to see, okay, this is here, this is here, this is here. So the ones that I assisted with grading those did Google Map, 360, all of that, on top of actually going and physically seeing the site. So, because I'm just like geographically challenged. So I made sure that I knew that, yes, it was within a half mile, yes, it was within 1 to 2 miles. So we did confirm that.
And so there may have been some that were further out that we knew, based on the drive there, how far it was.
Thank you.
Well, she's going to ask you, so you can.
Thank you. Can you talk a little bit about the criteria for neighborhood stability?
Whether or not there were a lot of things going on. An example might be if it was high in crime rate or high in drug use, those kinds of things. You wouldn't want to put the individuals in that kind of environment that was going to create other stimuli for them if they had substance or mental health issues.
So how do you determine who's using drugs and who's not? How did you measure that?
That would be determined during their intake. They
No,
would
no,
be-
no, 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 no. No, no, we're talking, I'm asking about the criteria for neighborhood stability. And you were saying about drugs, I get that, but how do you determine if the neighborhood is not having 25 drug users as opposed to 12? I'm asking for that criteria. What
we
did you
didn't get
measure?
into the number per se of people who actually are engaging,
Okay.
but some of the activity you can actually see. And we know based on police records where some of the activity
Okay,
is.
so you had some measurement,
So,
okay.
yes.
Okay.
Went to the, went to the various sites and everything, but just for the,
I have to hold it right
Yes,
That's for me as well.
okay, you went to the various sites, and did you do like a geological thing to make sure it's safe, no contaminants, where people, huh? Wait, yeah, no contaminants, stuff like that. I mean, is that going to be done, was it done prior, or is it going to be done after the single location is finalized?
You want to speak to it?
We have a small amount of pre-existing environmental site assessments, but we did not perform engineering and borings and site testing on any of the sites during our evaluation.
But will you? Once the location is finalized?
Yeah, that would be a requirement.
Thank you, Amy. Yeah, you're right behind me. So I'm just I'm curious if, some of the criteria, if there's, I guess it's more of a question about like weighting, right? Like weighting of maybe certain sections or certain criteria. Just because I look at something like zoning eligibility, and if like that's not feasible, then there's like no path forward, right? So I was just kind of curious, just in terms of like the criteria, if there were some where like zoning and licensing path, it's only 10 points, but again, like, if we find a 0 for zoning eligibility, I mean, it could have the highest score, but that just means that it's not feasible. So I'm just wondering if that's something that you took into consideration.
Yeah, so some of them was like in a floodplain, and that is a hard stop. So if it's there, those were automatically out of the running, and there's notes on it. The other ones, like the regular zoning and stuff like that, is whether or not it could possibly be zoned into the correct, and that's going to be more of a city council decision, and it goes through the zoning board. But some of them, that portion there was really for us to indicate whether or not it was in a floodplain.
Oh, thank you.
I guess also in the past 2 comments, something to think about is whether there will be a 1 recommendation or a 1 and runner-up recommendation. After everything smart I say, he says he's just going to say that, right? We could switch seats and I'll get a vote. No, but you could decide that too, which obviously would only come into effect after things are figured out. Other questions or comments about the rubric?
Well, I have a question.
I think
It's
you're
a race.
competing. Yeah. I don't remember it, so.
So I heard, was it just a joke when you said number 1 and then runner-up?
No.
I didn't, so why would we need a runner-up?
Just in case they go on.
Why would we need a runner-up?
If the zoning committee negates the choice, then would you want to come back and make a second choice, or do you want to say, well, our second best option that we voted on was this, so can that be submitted?
Oh, I just assumed that would have been checked out. I assumed, Dr. Thomas, that you would have looked into the zoning prerequisites before we got the final 5. Am I wrong?
We looked at some of it. Roy, you want to speak to that?
I think
She was saying that she assumed that we would have looked at zoning possibilities when we put it together.
Right, and I think in some cases zoning will need to change, you know. I think it needs to go before the zoning board, and I don't know that current zoning, whatever the status is, I don't know that it would be a hard stop either way.
So what you're saying is the 5 that we're getting, they're not pre-qualified with the zoning. Before we get them, we could pick 1, and then we'd have to have a runner-up because the 5 that we have not been kind of cleared, pre-cleared with zoning.
With zoning board, I think that this isn't my wheelhouse, but I think that is the case.
With the zoning board.
I understand.
Keep in mind, when you look at the list of criteria for the language against, some of those things were included. I mean, they're not going to approve anything that's in a floodplain. They're not going to approve anything that is considered contaminated. They're not going to approve yada yada. But there are some things that we know that they're not likely to approve. We know that there's areas that are not likely to be funded if we were to seek other funding.
So we don't have those.
We don't have those.
We don't have anything that you just named in the final 5.
Not that I'm aware of, but we looked at the records that we currently have, and we looked at the information from compliance, from zoning and EBT. They have records on certain sites and properties, and so those things were taken into consideration. But we didn't actually go out and test dirt.
No, I think you answered the question. Maybe I was hearing you incorrectly because I didn't know why we would get something that was questionable, but it sounds like it's very, very little.
Well, and the council did get another vote. And it doesn't have to be that there's something wrong with the property. They just might decide that they don't want that property. And that gives you then another option without having to sell it.
Director, during our last conversation, and I'm not sure this was a zoning issue, it was the site had to be couldn't be gravel. In other words, it had to be concrete. So does the same apply that, the 5 that we get will not be pre-screened for being suitable surface preparation in the sense that it's got to be the concrete and the area?
they will likely be scored lower, right?
Yeah, so the ones that, if they made it to the top, that did not have the gravel or, the type of ground that we needed, it was added into the cost associated with that
That
location.
you would have to do something to the site to
Correct,
make it.
we would have to pay,
Right.
we would have to add that, and that was added into the cost that was estimated.
So if it's grassy, if it's uneven, if it's something else, it would have to be added into the cost, and it probably would be a lower score.
Thank you.
I'm good.
Anyone else? Any other questions, comments about the presentation, about how things are scored?
It sounds to me that there were certain things in here that are hard no's, and one example of that is if it were on a floodplain, it will not have made it into the list. And if there was a pre-existing environmental condition, that would also have negated it making it into the list. Now, there are certain things that are soft no's that the city might give us. So for example, zoning rules, which are mutable, and we might have something that is in an area that is not zoned for this type of thing, and we might choose that and recommend it, and then the city council and the zoning board basically get a vote on what we're doing. But we get to choose that or not choose that because we know that might be a barrier. And the same thing is true for the type of floor, the ground, for lack of a better word. Maybe it has gravel or it's something that's incompatible with the Mod Pod's, and that will be included in our information. And that might be a recommendation that we make, knowing that it will be more expensive, but it might still be on our list, even though it's not ideal. That's correct?
Well said.
Okay, thank
Good
you.
job.
If there's no more questions, we're going to get to go back to picking the process for how we want to decide, and then yeah, great.
Yeah.
Jump right in.
I'll give a recommendation here, if possible. I know, thank you. I know we've had a lot of discussions about kind of rankings, direct democracy. I think if we want to do a ranking process after we discuss each of the sites, and then from there we can move as a board to remove some and eliminate some, then let's say 10 of us vote that one is our 5th choice, but 3 people have it as their 1st choice. Then those 3 people can make their argument, here are the exact reasons why it's our 1st choice, and then we can, as a board, vote to either eliminate or keep it in, contention for the location. That'd be my recommendation, and then as we get to, final 2, then we can have a final discussion on, pros, cons, how we view it, and then which one we recommend, and then we can also have a backup built in from that point.
Just to summarize, make sure, I'm going to let Ethan summarize how we make sure that.
Told me. So basically, it's kind of 2 tiers, like we were talking about earlier. We first rank the 5 sites as a group, then move as a board to eliminate or keep those in the running. And then there's a second vote where discussing pros and cons of the remaining sites, and then we would have to figure out, I guess, out of those remaining sites, how one is selected. Then you also mentioned having some kind of backup plan in place for if that chosen site does not succeed.
Yeah, correct. So then if it's, let's say the community centers, and I say I want to remove Foster Community Center from contention, we can discuss that, vote to keep or eliminate it, and then we can move on to, Elfrida Schmidt, and then we can move to Geyer, and then we can move to the other locations. Not that those are the set locations, but as an example. And then we can kind of move, and then if you're really impassioned about one or keeping one or you think one is perfect, then you have an opportunity to make your case instead of just us voting once and you not having a say in that either way.
So maybe a quick follow-up on that then. So if there was that kind of initial elimination or keeping in the running, what would constitute an elimination and what would constitute it remaining in the running from your perspective?
Yeah, I would just go majority vote of those in the meeting. If a majority want one kept in the running, then the next round you discuss it, and then if it gets down to the last 2 and people really decide that one is better than the other, then that one wins. So if people really want, I don't think it'll be that contentious. I hope that it'll be a little smoother than that, but worst case, everyone has a chance to have their voices heard on why they think certain sites would work better than others.
Anyone else?
I guess I would ask Christopher if what he just described was similar to what you did during your meeting, where you did a soft vote and got a feel for where people were, allowed people to talk about it, those who were not in favor of. And then you did another vote. And you sized that one up to see who was not satisfied. You gave them a chance to talk about why they weren't. You pulled out those people who hadn't said anything to get their opinion, their interaction, and then you went for a harder vote, a motion. Is that similar to what he just?
Yeah, I think so.
Anyone want to add anything? Otherwise, okay. So then, oh, we got someone who wants to add something. Thank you.
I don't know how to put this as an official thing, but in terms of having a runner-up, it's like, oh, that makes sense. We have a primary target and a secondary. But I do wonder about the kind of if we have these two pros, does that cause more rift among, if I'm in neighborhood A and I'm the primary site, I don't want it there, I'm gonna push for neighborhood B, so like, will that having a backup site cause more attention, more problems than having just picking a site and saying this is the site? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I agree that practically it makes sense to have a backup site because, again, zoning might fall through. There might be something else, or maybe they start boring holes and it turns out it's not suitable. So I'm really torn about the whole backup thing. I just want to throw that up and throw that in the conversation.
So I guess the question with that might be then, is that second option a public thing? Is it we just give one option and this is the choice, or do we publicly say this is also the backup? Any thoughts on that?
You guys can better
If that's a possibility, I think the one option would be made public, and that's the same. Then that's less work we'd have to do later.
I like that.
So Chair, you're saying that if we make a decision, one site, and if something, if it's not approved or something, we just come back to the table?
Well, with the second choice.
With the second choice, we've already hashed through that.
Right,
So we put the one out there, and then so let's work on this group of people. So we have something in mind. It's just like if I never drive a car unless I have a spare tire. I'm just saying that's my backup plan.
So just to summarize where we're at least from my understanding, it would be a soft round of trying to eliminate 3 through dialogue and voting. The remaining 2 would turn into a dialogue and then a vote. The top one would be the choice, and then the remaining 1 would be kept in the pocket, but there would be another meeting if needed where it would start with the remaining 1.
I like that.
Yeah, it's softball. Yeah, hey, thank you, Amy. You always got my back. Yeah. So for clarification, though, did you say we would sort of kick it off with ranked choice so that way we could identify the bottom 3 and then go through them to just determine that we're ready to eliminate? Was that?
Yeah. So
Okay.
kind of like Todd picture to start with, and we have an idea of certain people want this one as a group. We're viewing these ones a little less favorably.
Right.
And those can kind of be the start. But if someone has a really passionate plea for one of the bottom, they have a chance to get it in the top 2 with their discussion, discourse, however they want to.
Yeah, no, and I like it because I think it sort of blends a couple of ideas that people have proposed just in terms of doing ranked choice voting, and then there is an element of consensus in there because everybody would have an opportunity to sort of voice their thoughts, provide some input on the bottom 3. I also like that it's an elimination round, right? So there's almost like a bracket element to it, right? So, but yeah, just wanted to get clarification in terms of what would sort of kick off to identify the bottom 3. So thank you.
So kind of what I'm hearing is this initial round would almost be like an audition round where you're saying this is the option, we're going to have a discussion, we're going to have it presented, and if it passes the audition, then it moves forward to that elimination round where it can then be talked about and chosen as if it's one of the top 2 options, I guess. So is that kind of what you're saying over there?
So in terms of addition, are you thinking my thought process is the department will present the 5 options, and then from there, we as a group, as a board, then mark, here's my number 1 choice, here's my 2, here's my 3, here's my 4, here's my 5.
Okay.
And then we kind of tally those, if we want to put a numerical portion or into it, into the voting, so we can kind of have a number assigned to each location, and then from that, we have bottom 3, we want to go one by one to discuss each of the bottom 3 to see if anyone is really, we really want to keep it or we really want to eliminate it. I think that's kind of how I was viewing the process.
Okay, so to you, it's clear. It's a clear rank choice at the start. The top 2 that get the most points move on to that next round, and then there is more of a democratic process then on those last 2.
So yeah, just to have the 5, and then from there, if someone wants to move the lowest ranked one, we discuss that one, vote to keep or remove, and then just go from there. And then once we get to having 2 remaining that haven't been eliminated, then we can move to a final choice.
And so kind of like a benefit of that, because like what I think can happen too is like there's almost like a law of averages that can happen, right? Where it's like you might see a couple where it's like they're split 1s and 5s. We probably want to talk about those because people are going to have some very strong opinions about them. Whereas like if you have one where it's just a bunch of 3s, right? So the score when it comes to ranking can be a little bit deceptive, right? So I think like having that opportunity to hash out where you've got like very strong opinions where like people might be across the board. I think it's a great idea to just sort of like clear the air, get an understanding of like where people are coming at this from. So
If I could, I like a lot of things I've heard so far. I am very strongly in favor of having a meeting where we eliminate one or more of the options with the goal of having another meeting where we choose from the remaining options as our final choice. The one thing that is missing for me is I don't want this upcoming Thursday when we receive the 5 options to be the meeting where we determine our top 2. I really want that first meeting to be an opportunity for us to learn about those 5 sites and then have public comment or invite our neighbors to give their thoughts on that. So that's just one thing I wanted to vocalize. So far I have no objections to anything that anyone has said, but I just want to make sure that that is said. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. If I don't want us to feel like I know that time is of the essence, and this is something that has to happen quickly because we have a lot of dependencies on this. But do we think that that is possible? Are we going to be able to make the locations public to the city and have enough time for people to get thoughts from the people who live here and who are in those neighborhoods before we, as the board, choose from those 5 and say, all right.
I can support that. So what is our name? We don't have a hard set deadline. Right, there's no date that's been set that said we have to have it done. But the idea is that there's so many other steps that have to be taken, that it is the hope that we're able to do it as soon as we need to. I think everybody needs to be comfortable with the outcomes. But I also think that we probably won't need until June. We won't need until June to make the decision, in other words. Right.
Just as a clarifying question as we continue forward, I think we're making progress. So Thursday would not be a voting day, but you would like 2 separate meetings of voting, not that it should all happen in one meeting. In other words, in one fluid dialogue where there's round 1, round 2, but you would like 2 separate meetings, or you think that that could all be part of a further meeting? How would you like it?
A community engagement meeting. So if let's say we get the locations Thursday, then maybe give the community an opportunity to either get feedback through email or in person at a meeting. Speaking of, I did have a quick question on if people have any questions or concerns or comments they want to email. Is there any specific email or address that they should send those to?
Renee, what's our email address for comments?
Events.community@lansingmi.gov.
I will send it to the board. I will send it to you all.
Events.community@lansingmi.gov. Hashtag I will send it to the board.
Can I suggest that we have our own internal, I fully support what you just outlined as far as the next meeting, we received the 5, then we have a subsequent meeting, but can I suggest that we have our own internal timeline to hold ourselves accountable for making sure that we meet the time frame that we need to meet in order to have this done? Otherwise, I can see this potentially, if we don't have certain milestones that we have to meet. So I don't know what that is, but can I just ask that we have that?
Absolutely. We have the meeting on the 20th coming up, and at which time you will receive the 20th of November. The 20th of November.
20th, Thursday.
Yeah.
Thursday.
It's Thursday.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's another thing I gotta go.
Right. At which time we'll do exactly what you described, Christopher. We will review the list. We'll talk in detail about the top 5, answer any questions you might have. We'll meet again on December 2nd. The December 2nd meeting, we will begin deliberation.
With the goal of eliminating several.
That would be ideal. And if we use that time to eliminate, I don't know, 3, you said 3? Then it might only take one other meeting to do the top 2. Would that work?
That would give us a week and a half to collect public comments, do community engagement if we're going to do that, to go to places to ask people.
I think we might need a little more time for. So I know a lot of neighborhoods don't need winter time, but I think maybe a week and a half might be a little short of a runway to have enough input, or at least, give people an opportunity to give input through email, or if they want to come to the meeting and give it before we eliminate.
Yeah, and I hear that, and so I know this feels very sudden for you all. For me, this has been going on for years. So I think that, no, I want to be mindful of that, and that's really good feedback, because for us, we've been engaging with the public since we had the realization we had this opportunity. Well, and I'm just thinking, so it's in 2023, we started looking at these options. And then when was city council meeting? It's all jamming together for me. Was it June? Was that June? Oh, it was August. Okay. And then we've had some subsequent community meetings as well. A couple here at Foster, but I think we had community meetings in every ward. So I do hear that, and so I'm sorry that this feels rushed. It's I think that maybe just to provide just sort of the amount of work and getting public feedback, getting some input that the department and then my fellow board members have done, because I know we've all showed up to different public meetings as well. So, but yeah, so that was just to maybe provide some input in that we have been eliciting feedback from the public for quite a while. So, but not necessarily on the specific sites.
Yeah, so that's kind of my concern. I think, I know the department's done a great job getting things generalized, but I think it's a little different when it's, we want to have this community, what are your thoughts, what locations do you think are good versus, we're going to put this in your backyard, in your neighborhood, in your area. I think that's going to be something a little more to the neighborhoods.
That's fair.
That's giving them shorter runway. I know, I can think of many neighborhood leaders who, if they're caught with this with 2 days left to give feedback from their entire neighborhood, they're not going to be very happy, and I can't really fault them for that. But that's kind of my concern with the shortened timeline is when it's a specific location, it's a little deeper than just the bucket.
Yeah, I think if you could create a document of all of the meetings that have involved, community input, just for us to reference and use, to support our conversations if we have any with neighbors, that would be helpful.
Yeah, and granted, I haven't attended. I try to attend as many as I can, but I haven't attended all of them. I think, though, we've had board like participation in pretty much every single one.
That's
So,
some of them occurred on board meeting day.
Yep.
So capturing, you would like a document about all the things that have happened, and also we're mid-discussion about the timeline between the 20th and the next meeting. Because there's also, in other words, the next meeting will delve heavily into a discussion of location.
So, thank you. So do we think that this is going to drag on through the holidays? My concern is this, as I asked the question and not let you answer it, but I'll let you answer in a minute. Whoever is going to be our finalist, because we'll keep the runner-up quiet until the finalist says, heck no. Those folks are going to be upset. Everybody's not going to be happy. And so I'm flexible, whether we go through the holidays, whether we do it in a week and a half, it's fine with me. But I do think that we are prolonging anger. And we're giving people time to be angrier, because whoever that first choice is, they're going to be angry. And it doesn't matter how much time we give. Everybody's not going to be happy. So I just, like I said, I'm flexible one way or the other, but this is not going to be a 100% happy placement. So it doesn't matter how long we give folks.
I know we have a meeting on December 18th. It's our December scheduled meeting, so that'd be before the holidays, if we want to kind of have that as a hard deadline to have the location recommended. I understand that, people are going to be upset about this. I think they might be a little less upset if they have the opportunity to tell us why they don't want it in their neighborhoods, or why they want it in their neighborhoods versus, in a month releasing the location, saying, hey, we're putting it here, and then kind of blindsiding some of them.
Maybe I misunderstood. How many opportunities are we going to give people? Is it just one? I mean, that's the part that I'm a little confused about then.
Yeah, so I think once we get the locations, then I know, the neighborhoods department does a fantastic job with outreach. I know us as board members know our neighborhood leaders, where we can kind of give the information to the communities that are going to be kind of impacted by this, so they can give the input that the neighborhood is looking for, whether, supportive reasons why, what they would need to kind of assuage concerns.
So let me understand. So I'm the third ward, and so we have several neighborhood communities, like other wards too. So you're saying that we would not have just one evening of opportunity, we would have several evenings of opportunity for that number one candidate. Is that what you're saying?
So I'm thinking for any of the 5. So I know, me personally, I know it has listed in here, neighborhood stability, neighborhood receptiveness. I know that there's kind of basic information on that based on the 4 ward meetings, but I'd love to get input from, let's say Churchill Downs has a meeting tonight. So let's say if they're putting it in Churchill Downs, I would love to get the Churchill Downs community's thoughts on that. I know the neighborhood president there. I can reach out to him, say, here's the location, here's what we're thinking. Here are the opportunities for you to give feedback before we go into deliberation or have these discussions.
So this is going to be for all 5?
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, we'll be here until January, but I'm good with that. I'm all right.
You won't get to all 5. I don't think you're going to get to all 5.
So I know neighborhood meetings, a lot of them don't meet, around this timeline, but even just to send to, neighborhood leaders know best how to contact their neighbors.
But why do we have to why do all 5 placement sites, why do we have to have all 5 when we're going to eliminate 3 of them anyway?
So I think that might go into the elimination process. So let's say if we did this beforehand, we eliminate 3. Let's say hypothetically one of those neighborhoods may have reached out and said, hey, we'd love to have it. We have these supports. We have this number of neighbors willing to donate time or materials. That would really influence my decision and how I would vote and rank my top 5.
All right, I changed my mind. I'm going with what you said.
Yeah, and actually just to kind of piggyback off of that is like, I think for us, just in terms of like the rubric, I think that might give us a level of detail and information on like 2 points in particular, like community readiness and neighborhood fit, right? And certainly, you know, part of the reason why we're here, part of the reason why we're able to like benefit from like Kalamazoo's generous discount is because, you know, they ran into like site issues, right? And so I think, like, to your point, like, there could be a neighborhood that is like, just no, put it here, right? Like, we want this. And if that's something, like, that should be something that we consider, right? There could be a neighborhood that's like eager and willing and ready. And that would also indicate just like the level of community support that they're willing to like wrap around it as well. So yeah, no, like, I think like my initial response, I was like, oh my gosh, we've been here for so long. But, you know, again, it's like, I think I'm a little impatient. And so I appreciate, like, you know, you all, because like I'm like itching to go. Like, if Director Coleman gave me a shovel today, I would probably just like stick it in the ground and start digging. Snow or not, I don't care. So, but anywho, thank you.
If I can ask a question, all of our meetings are public and open to the public and have public comment, correct? So I guess one of the things that I was envisioning is between our Thursday meeting where we announce and the following meeting is all of us contact those groups. But this meeting, the next meeting, actually could be that place to where we collect public comment. We can do our best to get to these meetings, but if we can't get to them and we notify people, even if they're not meeting over the holidays, like, they can email us, or we could create a form that they could drop input into. They can show up here, or they can send somebody here. So those are all, we don't necessarily need to prolong it so that we have, you know, a meeting for each of the 5 or something like that. Because these meetings themselves, we have public comment here today, and they will have public comment at all of those, I'm sure.
Except on Thursday, they won't know ahead of time who the 5 are.
Well, yeah, so I was saying, yeah, so this Thursday, all of us, this coming Thursday, all of us will learn together what we are working with. But the following meeting, so between this Thursday and the following meeting, we do our job, which is to inform everybody of the 5 locations. And then at the next meeting, that's when people can come in and give their support, or previously with emails, with whatever else. That's.
You mentioned your next meeting is December 18th.
Yeah, so what is the next HRCS meeting? Is that still 2 days before?
It's the 4th, it's the 4th, no, we had to change it for the holiday.
This is our last meeting for the year besides the joint meetings that we're holding.
Okay.
So,
would the timeline work, like, let's say if those were our 2 voting meetings, like the 16th and then the 18th, if those
or
are our...
the 2nd and the 18th?
So I'm thinking the second could be just like a community engagement where, you know, because then if someone doesn't see it by that week, I wouldn't want someone on the 3rd going, oh man, I wish I sent an email or went to that meeting. That gives it a little more time for people to give input.
What's the consensus of this group? So the 18th would still be our hard deadline.
Yeah.
But we would have a special meeting on the 16th as opposed to.
So I think that'd be a good kind of elimination 16th, final determination 18th meeting to kind of keep the same timeline. And then it's a month that we have to solicit input instead of just 1 week for people to give input.
Just throwing, sorry, someone's got something?
So 12-2 in community engagement. 12-16 community engagement.
Plus the goal of voting.
Yeah. And then pick a date and our runner-up on the.
So we would only have community engagement on the 2nd, nothing else?
So that, and also providing an email or a Google form or something that people can do online, because not everyone can make a meeting at whatever time. You know, people's schedule will get in the way, just so that we can kind of have that information going into deliberations without just a week for people to get that.
All right.
Does this go against what you were saying?
Say again?
Does this go against what you were saying?
It's kind of an addition to what I was saying. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. We have a little more time for the public and for us to digest these 5, and then the meeting on the 16th is when we eliminate down to a couple, and then the meeting on the 18th is when we choose we make a final recommendation. And then he's saying, we keep the meeting on the 2nd, but instead of doing business and voting on the 2nd, we just show up and let people show up if they have thoughts, and that is the meeting.
Okay, so we're gonna find out what the 5 are on Thursday. When are you gonna release it to the public?
Well, once they go into your hands?
Yeah. Yeah, in our agenda, I assume.
Once it goes into your hands, it's public information. Once you have received.
Right, but is it gonna be,
Yeah, once you receive it, it's public information.
all right. Then on the 2nd, we're gonna be discussing this, and we're gonna have the various people from the different wards here, right?
We would
Talk
invite
about it.
anyone to come.
From different sites, different sites. Then on the, what was it?
The 16th.
16th,
That's when we get together, and there might be more public comment, because this is a public meeting. But now our goal is to vote and choose 2, hopefully, sites of the 5 on that Tuesday. That would be our goal for business that day.
and the 18th?
That is our goal, to choose one of the 2, and say, this is our recommendation.
Why do we do that on the 16th?
We could do that on the 16th. Sure, if we have time. Maybe we can do that on the 16th.
So the 16th will be deliberation and a reduction to the top 2.
Yeah.
And the 18th will select your top 1.
Right.
If we're really efficient, we can do it all on the
I'm
16th,
really
but
okay
build
if
in the
we do
18th
it
as
on the
the, just in
16th.
case.
Yeah.
I-
We just have the 18th as a backup. If the meeting goes really long, we can say, you know what, let's table it to 2 days.
So you want the option of saying, it sounds like theoretically, I'm just hearing 2 sides, but maybe potentially it's all one side. That theoretically, 16th, there's comments, maybe it leads to, there's a possibility, by the way, that everyone's actually going to see the same option as number 1.
Yeah.
There's this possibility that this whole thing is going to go really quickly, and then we'll all sit here and wonder what we did. But what you're saying is that potentially the 16th public comment, the vote to 3, and everyone's like, hey, let's keep going and finish, so that the 18th is a free evening.
Just our meeting. You can
Wow,
come if you
that
want.
feels exclusive. Oh, there's public comment at that meeting too,
I'm
right?
trying to avoid coming to this place too many times.
So I am a little selfish, and I potentially have a conflict the 16th. So I'm wondering if we think, especially since we've sort of chosen how we're, the process, right? So we've got some structure around this. If we think it's possible to get it into one day, and I would encourage that, like Dr., I'm backing you up, Dr.
Oh, you are?
I am, yeah. I support you. But if possible, I would support doing the meeting on the 18th. And just doing it all in one.
Yeah, I'd be fine
Yeah,
with
if that works. I mean, and granted, I can do my best to rearrange my obligation on the 16th, but that would be my
So
goal.
we're talking about then December 2nd and December 18th.
Yeah.
December 2nd, 18th, not the 16th.
So
Correct.
just the elimination voting on the 18th, so that everything, as long as you're okay with the late night.
Yo, I am a lobbyist for a department and just went through budget season. I was in the rotunda until like 2 a.m.
You're ready.
I'm like, I'm so ready for it. Yeah.
I'm fine with the 18th being the end all meeting to.
All right.
All right, so no
So this is
16th.
gonna end on the 18th, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the goal.
Do I have all
Unless
your,
everything goes wrong.
do I have all y'all's words that it's gonna end on the 18th?
Here, so it's gonna be fine. No, I'm joking,
No, no, no.
I just got in trouble with the attorney, so.
That's my son's birthday, and I'm gonna sacrifice and get him that cake early, just to keep that.
Bring this.
I shall.
Appreciate that, Doctor.
I got
We can celebrate here.
I got you.
Can I just ask, so I feel like we've kind of moved towards a possible solution, which is having an open meeting on the 2nd where we just invite public comment and don't do any business, and then on the 18th, use our normally scheduled meeting to do the entire decision, hopefully first by eliminating some things and then choosing an option. And there have been several people here who have been pretty vocal and part of that conversation, but I know that not everyone has spoken and not everyone has said anything, and so I just want to make sure if you're sitting on anything or if you're feeling like you have some thoughts about this, whether it's in favor of or against, that you have an opportunity to say that. So is there anyone here who wanted to say something that hasn't had a chance yet, for or against?
I'd like to do that before Christmas, I think. I mean, realistically, if we don't do it before the 18th, then if we're talking about mid-January, it's like a lot of time. So I'd like to schedule as suggested.
If nobody has anything else, let me just summarize. There you go. Yep. All right, let me just summarize this one more time. So what was kind of set out here, this Thursday, the 20th, we'll go through the 5 options, and those will be revealed to the public. From the 20th... Oh.
Yeah. I'm just looking. We just want to make sure we heard everybody. Yeah. You good?
Okay, just go through again. So the 20th, this Thursday, all 5 options will be revealed and discussed as a group here. From the 20th of November to the 2nd of December, that will be kind of a period to get community feedback from the different wards and your neighborhoods. And then the 2nd of December will be an actual community engagement event somewhere where we can get feedback from the community in that forum. And then it sounds like at this point we're saying that the 18th would be the one date of voting where we would do the ranking of the 5, narrow it down to 2, and then have a final vote on those 2, with that one choice being given to the public and a backup being put in the pocket. So is that kind of a good summary of what we're looking at this point?
Great job.
Just want to add.
It was your idea.
I was saying the summary.
Just want to add 2 points just to make life complicated when you think you're done. There's some fine print here. First of all, what happens if there are no shows? What happens if on the 18th some people can't make it or absent? How do you want to handle that?
I think if they want to submit their thoughts, so if, let's say you're not going to be here on the 18th, but we have the locations, we have, the community input, and you want to send us your rankings and your reasons why, I think if you're not here, we can, use those in our discussion, and then, that can influence how we discuss, decide, and vote.
So submit thoughts, but not vote.
So I think if they want to submit their rankings, we can include that in the general total, and then they wouldn't be there for discussion, obviously, but if they have points as to why they think these locations would be good or not, we can, discuss those, but they wouldn't have the official final vote for that.
So you're talking about us?
Yes, correct.
Okay, because with regard to public comment, for us, there's no interactions, but it's for the Open Meetings Act, so we would allow all the comments that people want to share, but we wouldn't exchange or interact with.
So this would be, I think, in case any board members would be able to make it, so they can submit, send an email with your rankings and your reasons why, and that can go into the discussion portion.
If there's no comments, the next question is what? We're going to vote on all of it in 1 second. What happens if there's a tiebreaker? How do you want to decide a tie? You're down to the final 2, and magically you're stuck in the middle. How do you want to decide that? Do you want to?
Paper, scissors.
I mean, one option.
Just so we can vote on the whole thing in one shot.
We could vote us. I don't know. This is not ideal, but we could vote 2 options. We'd say we suggest these 2 are our best options.
Send the 2, and then the mayor can make the final. If we're somehow split dead even.
I mean, I think if we are split before we do that, we should probably talk to the people who are strongly opposed and strongly in favor of those things, and we might be able to tease out a ranking still. I think that would be ideal.
People on the board.
The people on the board, I mean, right. So, if we are really split 50-50, I think that we probably have a chance.
That would be so much energy. Yes,
It would take energy. This is the thing that we would need to commit to. You're right. But yeah, I mean, if we really are deadlocked, there's nothing that says we can't say we have looked at all 5 options, and these 2 are very good options.
Yeah.
Or is there?
What did you say?
You want me to recap one more time? So I guess in terms of the tiebreaker, we're saying that there is a tiebreaker. Did you say we're taking more feedback from the community?
No, our goal, if there's a tiebreaker, then we, as a group, the voting, say, okay, we need to find why we are so 50-50 on this. Are there people who can be swayed? Are there people who still have questions? So we internally, and then if we can't get past 50-50, then we submit the two
So you'll
to the mayor. And then the mayor says, okay, thanks for these two.
If there's a tie, there'll be a reconfer as a group. Revote. Do you think there should be a second vote after the reconfer?
Yeah, I would say that, yeah.
Alright,
I mean,
so-
I'm not sure how it works over.
Yeah, can I get a microphone?
Yes.
You need two. You need two.
All right, so from what I'm hearing there, we'll have the first vote. Hypothetically, if there is a tiebreaker, it will go into kind of a second discussion period of the group to talk about specifically why people are really against one, for the other. There'll be a secondary vote, and then if on that second vote there still is a tie, the tiebreaker would go to the mayor. Does that kind of summarize what you're saying?
And he would choose and final. Say that.
I think I covered it.
I mean, practically something to consider, because like, since we are talking about having a backup option, like first and second option, in that case, we're just presenting both equally, right? So we still have those two options at the end of the day.
Yeah. Now, the mayor gets paid for what he does. But that's a kind of interesting situation that we can't make up our mind and we have the mayor break the tie.
But
Made it up to two.
But it happens.
We did 80% of it.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a motion to move to a motion. I'm going to turn this over to the chair.
All right, is there any further business?
Are we looking for a vote to make the process finalized?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's two motions.
Mhm.
First motion has to do with the dates. We'll entertain a motion from one of the person within the body.
So moved. Tears
Okay.
And what is your motion?
To accept the process as presented. Is that the
Well, let's do the dates first for our meetings.
20th, 2nd, 18th?
The 20th,
November 20th for our 5 locations.
then December the 2nd.
Public input, December 18th, deliberation and votes.
All right. Did everybody hear those options? At this time, I will receive a motion to accept these dates.
Second.
Kirsten Walters moves.
I second you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those that oppose? Ayes have it, so carried. Our next motion,
How we're going to handle tiebreaker.
yep,
Oh,
y'all understand that? The tiebreaker.
The whole process?
Yeah.
So to go through more time, so this Thursday, the 20th of November, all 5 options will be revealed and discussed among the group here. And then after that meeting, however that goes, from the 20th of November to the 2nd of December, you'll have opportunity to get community feedback from your areas and neighborhoods. And then on the 2nd of December, there will be another event.
No, there's a meeting on the second.
I got the notes straight.
Yeah, it's all good.
All right, so on the 2nd of December, there will be one more event to get in community engagement and feedback from the public. And then that will give us then 2 weeks after that to the 18th of December. There will be a vote at that point to eliminate 3 and narrow it down to 2 options. From there, those 2 will be voted on. I guess under majority, I believe we said is the vote there, so democratic process. And then if there is a tie, everybody will reconvene, discuss the 2 options again, revote. And then if there's no agreement at that point, it will be considered a tie, and I guess both options will go to the mayor, and he can make the choice if he'd like at that point. So I think that was everything.
Okay, so there's 2 motions. One you've already got, a motion and a second. We got to call the vote.
All right, for the tiebreaker. Questions, we got some questions.
Yeah, so
Was there any
clarification,
discussion?
is the vote on the tiebreaker or is it on the entire process? Because I don't think we've had a vote on the entire process yet, so the process,
This
okay.
is the process vote, right?
Mhm.
We're accepting that the second is comment only and that the 18th is the several votes where we narrow down and then we vote, and if there's a tie, we vote again, and if there's a tie, then we submit both options. So this is the vote on accepting that or not accepting that.
Okay. Wait, do we have a motion on that? I thought we.
Well, we're waiting for the
Oh, okay. Sorry. Like, I was like, wait a minute, did we already move to a vote?
You actually had a question.
Oh, I need more caffeine.
Are there any more questions or discussion concerning the voting process?
I would move that so that we can get a second and then we can discuss it.
All right, it's been moved and second.
I second what he said, what she said.
All those in favor?
Are we?
Wait.
It's already passed. The motion is already.
No, that was.
Somebody needs to actually speak the motion.
Can I read
That is
that?
correct. Yep, that is correct. Okay.
have it written.
Okay, then you're gonna have to say.
Can you?
You cannot.
I'll move my
No,
lips and you
no,
talk.
Dr. T, it's gonna be one of us.
It has to be one of you guys.
Say, I move.
Well, I move whatever you said.
No, you gotta say.
No, okay.
Do you think you can summarize it?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I move that on our second, I move that on this Thursday's meeting, we received the information about the 5 locations and we received public comment. I move that on the second, that we do not carry on any business. I move that on the 18th. That on the 18th, we narrow down on our first vote, that we try to choose a top contender, and if there is a tie, then we discuss and we vote again, and if there's a tie again, then we submit both of those two to the mayor as a slate. That is the motion.
All right.
I second whatever he said.
At this time, I'll accept a motion.
Just make the motion.
All right,
I'm seconding the motion.
you second it? Questions or comments?
Could I add a friendly amendment?
What's the friendly amendment?
So the friendly amendment would just be to clarify that before the sort of final vote, we are going to rank the 5 options, and then we will go through a process of elimination, starting with the bottom one, working our way up to the
Didn't we just
So we
say
eliminate
this?
one, then a second, then a third.
Yes,
so
that is my friendly amendment.
I agree.
All right.
I mean,
Okay, but is that a friendly
Didn't
amendment
you
or is
say-
that a withdrawal?
I didn't say it out loud.
But
No,
we're
it's
gonna
a
do
friendly
that.
amendment to his motion.
So the new motion is that on that last date, we eliminate things one by one through ranked choice and through discussion. And then when we have 2 left, we vote on one and choose.
Here.
Can I second now?
So on the day of voting, we narrow them down one by one until we have 2 left. Yes? And then when we have 2, we try to narrow that down to 1. If there's a tie, we discuss again and vote again. And if there's a tie again, we submit both. And if there wasn't a tie, then we submit the 1
To the mayor.
to the mayor.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
It's basically identical to what you agreed to before, but we've added just explicitly that first vote is we're going to eliminate things one by one. We're not going to eliminate 3 at once. We're going to eliminate 1 site, and then a second site, then a third site until we have 2 left.
Right. But if we tie,
And then
then
if
the
we
2
tie,
still go to the mayor.
if we tie twice,
You said
yes.
1, that's why I was confused.
If we tie twice, yep, the 2 goes to the mayor. And if there's no tie, 1 goes to the mayor.
Now can I second?
I approve of his.
Yeah, second.
We ain't got no more questions.
Is there any more discussion? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those that oppose? Ayes have it, so carried. Our next meeting will convene Thursday, the 20th, and that's Community Center at 5:30. That's Community Center. At this time, I will receive a motion for adjournment.
I so move that we adjourn this wonderful meeting.
Okay, it's been moved to second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Miss Williams.
I
second
this for.
Thank you.
This meeting is adjourned at 7:08.